guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you like it and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I do want to go ahead and give a trigger warning. In this video, I will be talking about binge eating disorder, self-harm, and rape. I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail, but enough that I wanted to go ahead and give a trigger warning. Like I said, welcome back to my channel. I hope that it's inspiring some of you to just share and embrace your story and just become a stronger person. I know that a year ago this time, I didn't think I would be here today, and here I am, thriving, growing my own business, my own brand, and hopefully helping other people. I'm just so excited to share a little bit more of my story and get a little bit deeper into my content for you guys. So I'm just going to pick up where I left off last time. And this time I started seeing a therapist, and I had started talking to him about how I'd really been wanting a dog. I think it'd be so cool to have a emotional support animal and yada yada yada. And he was like, this is probably weird, but I had this vision that you had this black and brown dog. And I was like, okay. And so at that point I was like, it's meant to be. I'm supposed to have a dog. And so I started looking to adopt a dog, and I don't know if any of you tried to adopt an animal during COVID, but pretty much all of them got adopted up real quick. So because everyone was working from home and they wanted companions, and so they were adopting animals, and so I went and I was searching and couldn't find anything. Finally came across this post on Facebook for the shelter, and there were 3 6-month-old puppies that were rescued from a hoarder's home, and they were being fostered right down the road from me. And one of them was a black and brown little boy dog, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is the one. So I went to see him, meet him, and he was there with his sister. His brother had already been adopted out, and I absolutely fell in love. With the big heart I have, I couldn't separate the two of them, so I ended up adopting 2 puppies. Go me. And then went back home. I was like, I have all this time on my hands. I'm going to train these puppies. They're going to be such good dogs. Literally, not even a week later, I accepted a job offer. It was actually at the hospital that I had a travel contract at, but on a different unit. I was going to be working on the progressive care unit there. So I had just a couple weeks to get these dogs acclimated to their new home environment, and then I was going to be going back to work in these 12-hour days and leaving them at home. So I've got these 2 dogs. Grace is the biggest shithead ever. She was stubborn. She would go downstairs to go to the bathroom, and then as soon as she saw we were coming back up to the stairs, she would just stop and become dead weight. And I would literally have to carry this dog. Luckily at that point she was only 35 pounds, so carry her up the stairs and then drag her back into the apartment because she did not want to come back in. Theo, on the other hand, little angel, he never had any accidents. He was just perfect little child. Fast forward some time, their roles flipped, and he's my little shithead and she's my little angel, but that's another story for another day. I literally remember sitting on my floor crying, calling my mom, what the hell did I do? What did I get myself into? But I was I can't separate them. I can't take just one of them back, and I'm definitely not returning both of them because I need a dog in my life. And it was just this whole fiasco. So get my dogs, get a new job. I'm starting to think about competing in another competition. Of course, all the gyms have shut down, so I'm training from home with minimal equipment, and spend the summer just working and training, mostly outside in the Arizona heat. Lovely, I know. And come July, I actually had gotten invited to this little gathering with some people at my apartment complex, some acquaintances, and then some people that I didn't know. And I just hopped on the opportunity to make friends with some new people. I went to the gathering. It was at night, and I got peer pressured into drinking, having just one drink, and one drink, as we know from my past, turned into a blackout night. All I remember really from that evening was I took a shot of vodka, and then I woke up the next morning feeling more violated than I ever have in my life. I looked over, and my dogs were out of their kennels, and they always slept in their kennels. My dogs were out of their kennels. There was poop on the floor. My world was turned upside down, and I had no idea what happened. And so I looked over my phone. I had several missed calls and text messages from the guy that apparently had walked me home the night before, and he wanted to talk. And so I was still intoxicated. I was like, whatever, come over and talk to me. Like, I want to know what happened. And basically, like, brushed it off as, like, nothing happened that night. And I was like, okay, nothing happened, and let it go. And come to find out later, somehow his girlfriend got wind that something did happen, and I started getting tormented and harassed, saying that I needed to apologize to her. For what? I'm not really sure. I eventually got tired of the harassment and didn't know what to do. I was all alone there, and so I reached out to her and I apologized for essentially drinking too much that night, because I'm an adult and I should be able to control how much liquor I'm drinking, and that was that. I was scared to show face around the apartment complex for the remainder of the time I lived there, which was probably about another 6 months. I would like not go to the pool. I would like basically make myself seen as little as possible. And later that day, I had my first panic attack. I was on my floor crying. I could not breathe. I finally worked up the nerve to call my sister, and she was luckily able to talk me down out of it. But I was in just a complete mess, and I didn't know what to do. I just blamed myself, because I shouldn't have drinking that alcohol. I knew what happens when I drink, and it just kind of got out of control as it used to in the past, and it was, whatever happened was my fault. It took me up until April of the following year, when I got admitted into a partial hospitalization program, to realize and to accept the fact that I had been raped. We'll talk about that a little bit probably in the next video, but getting back to July, I at that point didn't know what else to do, so I put my head down and put my blinders on, and I did nothing but prep for my competition that was coming up later that fall of 2020. In August, I actually did go on a date. I went on my first date with my now husband. I knew the moment that I sat down at the table with him at that little coffee shop that he was going to be the man I was going to marry, and here we are, married now, in the happiest relationship I could ever imagine being in. Anyways, so late August, we started dating. September, everything was good. October, I competed in my competition, had a good time. Post-show, I was not very happy. I knew I didn't put into that prep what I really needed to. Obviously, I had some other distractions. And so going into November and the holidays was really difficult for me. I tried to stay on track as best as I could. I started having some issues with binging. Mid-November, I started questioning my relationship. There was no way that a man could treat me this well. I didn't deserve it. I was simply a piece of meat to men. I didn't deserve the kind of respect that my now husband, was giving me. I almost broke up with him at that point, because I didn't deserve to have someone like him in my life. I knew what kind of shit I had been through and what kind of terrible person I was, and it wasn't right. And he gave me the space that I needed for a couple weeks, came back, and in late November, we actually went back to visit my family, and he asked my dad for my hand in marriage. Fast forward December, I started having issues with weight gain. I was not fat at all, but I wasn't stage lean anymore, and so I was like embarrassed to go into the gym. I would literally sit in my car thinking I would rather die than walk into that gym. I should not be showing my face in a gym looking like this. I was just disgusted with myself, and so started having struggles with that, continuing the binge eating. Later in December, we went and flew out to California, where his family is. I met his family for the first time, and at the end of December 31st, he proposed to me after work one night. Of course, I said yes. How could I not? He's the best thing that's ever happened to me. Anyway, went through January, I started struggling at work. I was having like breakdowns at work. I would have to leave the floor and go cry in the bathroom. I was having issues with counting narcotics and like calculating medications. I knew that things are starting to affect my job, and I just was struggling hard. Fast forward to February, I was still struggling pretty bad, but I was keeping myself afloat. I came home one day and told him when he gets off work, we're going to drive to Vegas and we're going to get married. So in February 23rd, on the 22nd, we drove to Vegas and we got married on February 23rd in the Little Neon Chapel. And I could not be happier with my decision to do so. Then March rolled around. My mental health was continuing to decline. I was having trouble showering. I was having trouble brushing my teeth. I was having trouble getting out of bed. I was uncontrollably crying, and I just was getting like verbally abusive to my dogs. I was kicking walls. I was digging my nails into my neck until I was bleeding. I was having suicidal ideation, and I was at my breaking point. I called my husband. He was at work one day. I called him and crying, and he asked if he needed to come home, and I told him I needed him to come home. I didn't feel safe. He got home and hugged me on the couch as I cried and asked me if he needed to take me to the hospital. I was scared and I didn't want to go to the hospital. I didn't know. I know I needed help. I knew I needed help, but I didn't know what to do, and I didn't want to go to the hospital. So the evening went on. I ended up like on the kitchen floor crying, and he asked me if I wanted to go see my parents back in Houston, and I said yes. So I called into work the next day knowing that I had like 4 or 5 days off. After that, I called in so I'd have several days off where I could go home and just talk to my parents and try and figure things out a little bit. Flew home the next day, and my parents immediately started working on trying to get me into a behavioral health center that they were already familiar with. Turns out that one was closed down. Luckily, we pretty quickly found New Dimensions, and I was able to interview and get admitted into a partial hospitalization program. I am going to go ahead and end this episode there. My next episode, I will be sharing my journey through my partial hospitalization program, hopefully sharing some insight from both my husband and my parents on how they felt and dealt with me through this journey, and just break things down a little bit more for y'all. I am so grateful for y'all that have stayed through and listened to this all the way. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I have made a complete 180 from where I was last year, and I could not be more proud of myself. And I hope that I can motivate and inspire people to keep fighting for themselves as well, so that they can feel as proud and as lucky as I do to be sitting here today. Thank you again for watching. Be sure to like if you made it all the way through and enjoyed this footage. Be sure to subscribe to my channel for more videos in the future. Thanks again for listening. I will see y'all later.